All right, good afternoon, everybody. This is Eric Johnson from the Yakima Nation Tonight program. Our address is 20 Gunyon Road. Our phone number is 509-865-5121, extension 4455. For those of you that are tribal members who work for the tribe, our main headquarters phone number is 509-865-5121. Extension 4455. Also, for those of you who do not work for the tribe, if you want to get in contact with me, it's very simple to contact our agency headquarters at 509-865-5121, extension 4456. That is me directly. Extension 4455 is Aaron Buck. All right, what I'm going to do today is go through 3Ds of chemical dependency. Those 3Ds are denial, delusion, and defensiveness, I believe, if I am correct. Yes, I am correct, as usual. Just kidding, of course, for all you perfectionists out there. Let me go to my next slide. I'll be doing this in 3 sessions, so this is a very lengthy PowerPoint, so I'll be going in 3 different sessions because I only have, I think, 40 minutes per session until I upgrade to the premium package. All right, this lecture is designed to explain in detail how and why persons with chemical dependency often have poor insight into themselves and their own disease. Most of us have very little self-examination or introspection, big old fancy college word there, in terms of how we are, how we exist, what we're made of, our weaknesses and our strengths, and the overall capacity to be a good, moral, law-abiding citizen, so to speak, in terms of just being decent and being civil and making sure that we don't impose our disease or our sickness on society. Next slide. The distortion is created. Oh, it says, while no one likes to admit that he or she does not know themselves well, it is important for the person in early recovery to realize that their picture of reality can become very clouded. This lecture is designed to explain, oh wait, these things are not going the way I'd like for them to go. Okay, it says the distortion is not intentional and is most often not recognized by the chemically dependent person even after confrontation. The first one is denial. Denial means that I am going to ignore or not acknowledge what is wrong with me and pursue a life that is detrimental to me physically, psychologically, and mentally, and financially, spiritually, a lot of different ways that denial can result in a very deadly consequence. Sometimes that consequence can be cirrhosis of the liver when a person ends up passing away because of alcohol use that has been extremely excessive. Denial is not unique to chemical dependency. Most chronic diseases have some level of denial associated with them. For example, a person with heart disease continues to smoke cigarettes and eat high-fat content foods, which is not good for your arteries or your heart. Or a person with diabetes does not watch their sugar intake because your pancreas can only take so much sugar intake, and the onslaught can actually render your pancreas useless in terms of providing a proper amount of insulin in that organ to continue monitoring and processing sugar out of your body. All right, denial is not intentional. In many cases, denial can appear to be lying, when in fact the person actually believes some falsehood about their life. That is what we call delusional, or in some instances, psychotic, so that I'm believing a lie. I don't want to face the fact sometimes that I might have a problem in this area, and so I'm going to rationalize everything away by blaming a lot of other entities or people about my problem, or for my problem rather. So if it wasn't for my wife, if it wasn't for my husband, it wasn't for the judge, if it wasn't for that state patrol officer, if it wasn't for the probation officer, it wasn't for the parole officer, my life would be great. Nobody would be interfering with my life. Well, in some instances, an intervention is very, very needed and undesired by the diseased or the addicted person, but it's very needed so that we can be put on the right track, so to speak, and start living a better life. It says there are basically three types of denial to look at. One is simple denial, where it's just obvious that I'm in a state of denial and don't want to acknowledge it. Number two, or simple denial says evidence by statements such as, I'm not an alcoholic, I'm not a drug addict, or I don't drink or use drugs, when you actually do. In spite of the evidence to the contrary, it says the individual just simply states the problem does not exist. Now, that could be a real issue that family members deal with on a daily basis when the person wants to stay ordinary or stay normal, for lack of a better word, when in fact they have very strong issues that is evidenced by their behavior that the problem does exist. This type of denial is usually overcome by direct confrontation and continued reinforcement of the facts. So the husband or the wife stays out 1 or 2 or 3 days in a row, doesn't call home, doesn't come back to help with the family operation or things that are needed in our family, doesn't show up to work for a couple of days, or shows up to work intoxicated, ends up incarcerated because of a DUI or some other law that might have been broken. Those are all pieces of evidence that the life of the person who is denying that these problems exist can no longer stand in denial or in defense of a life that doesn't have these problems based on facts. Number two is comparing denial. Well, at least I'm not as bad as so-and-so. I don't drink as much as such and such. And those guys are way worse than me. The comparing type of denial is usually more complicated than simple denial. In essence, comparing denial is evidenced by statements such as, sure, I drink, I drug too much, but at least I'm not as bad as my neighbor down the street. I never got that bad. I never blacked out. I never shot heroin in my arms, so I can't be that bad. Those are extreme examples, of course, but those happen. Sure, I drink a lot, but I never lost a job because of it, still employed. I'm a functional alcoholic or a drug addicted individual because I maintain my job, I maintain my bills, I keep my family together, although it might be dysfunctional, but I keep it together. Well, so what if I smoke pot? At least I'm not doing cocaine or drinking. So in some senses, I'm better than the cocaine or the drinking person because I only smoke pot. And in our state, in Washington State, it's even legal to use marijuana now. I believe up to 1 gram can be carried personally on a person's body. I'll tell you what, if I ever get as bad as so-and-so, then I'll quit. You guys ever heard of the bottom or hitting bottom? Those are some very serious statements to make in terms of how bad things get. I don't want to hit bottom. I don't want to be destitute. I don't want to be hopeless. I don't want to have consequences endlessly pursuing me because of really bad choices. I just drink beer. I'm not like those real alcoholics. I'm not getting drunk and blacking out. I'm not ending up in the emergency department. I'm not having to be resuscitated by an emergency EMT department or an ambulance. I never had alcohol poisoning, which is just drinking so much that you now have a blood alcohol concentration in your body of 3.5 to 4.0, which is comatose, having drank yourself into being in a coma. It says this type of denial is usually overcome by basic education of facts and confrontation and minimizing and comparing. Minimizing is very critical in terms of reducing what the real actual problem is into something more manageable. Now remember, step one says that my life had become unmanageable when I drink alcohol, paraphrasing step one there. But that's the problem, is I rationalize this away, or I think this away through having a job, not being arrested, not being on probation, not having any fines, still having my wife, or still having my husband, still having my home, still got my car, still got my kids. Everything seems to be great. Well, obviously it's not. Number three is I'm different denial. This is what they call a habitual offender in terms of I'm unique. They got a case of uniqueness, or what I used to call when I was in treatment many years ago, uniqueitis. I was different. Nobody could change me. Nobody could encourage me to be different. Nobody could make me sober. I wanted to have a cure for this problem. I called on the creator to have him make me better, make me more focused, make me realize my shortcomings, or my behavior had become very chaotic and without boundaries. A lot of times people suffering from addiction are ignoring certain boundaries. This type of denial is extremely difficult to overcome and probably kills more chemically dependent people than anything else. Now, the I'm different denial, my uniqueness, I'm special, nobody understands me, they can't comprehend what I'm doing. If somebody had to deal with the problems I have, they would have been dead a long time ago, or they would have surrendered to anxiety and stresses and all type of mental disorders, because they wouldn't be able to handle what I can handle because I'm so special and so different. No, it's not that way. It says I'm different. Denial is evidenced by statements such as, but you don't understand, my case is different. I've heard people stand before judges. I've even stood before a judge before saying, Your Honor, if you just let me out today, I promise you, I'll go to treatment. I'll get my life together. I'll go to counseling. I'll go to behavioral health for my mental disorders or problems that I might have by getting an assessment. Judge let me out of jail, let me out of the courtroom. I go right to the dope house, right to the store, liquor store. I would not do what I told them I would do. I was giving them empty promises in courthouses repetitively. Not don't want to disclose a whole bunch of all my problems, but I was not the model citizen that I am today. I was an offender. I was a recidivist. I did all types of things, was on probation, had to pay fines, had to spend a few days in jail here and there. I just wasn't meeting the standards set before me by society in terms of civil obedience, so to speak. Says, but you don't understand, my case is different, or I'm not like the rest of these alcoholics. Believe me, I've been in my job 22 years. And I have heard some of the most outlandish, craziest pieces of reasoning that exist in terms of trying to get out of being identified or labeled as an alcoholic. You don't have to be a Skid Row bum on Skid Row, down and out, hopelessly lost, diseased, addicted, and without any resources available to you. You don't have to go that far. It says, here it is, this type of denial is often referred to as terminal uniqueness. Now, do I have to say any more? Terminal means deadly. When you get cancer, if somebody gets cancer, I'm a cancer survivor myself, thank God, praise the creator. I have been cancer-free for now 41 years. I was 20 years old when I had a cancer diagnosis back in 1980. Some of you might remember that year. Mount St. Helens blew up that year. That's the year I got here in Washington State. Now, there's no correlation between Mount St. Helens blowing up and me getting here from Compton, California. Woo, woo. I'm straight out of Compton. But we do have the problem as an addicted individual of having terminal uniqueness, believing that there is no other person in the world who is struggling through the problems that I have or the challenges that I'm faced with on a daily basis. At this time, there appears to be no consistent method to break through this type of denial. Many people leave treatment with their denial intact, meaning when I go to treatment for 21 days, I'm in denial. I don't believe I'm an alcoholic. They can't convince me I'm a drug addicted person. I'm going to be in there for 21 days knowing that I'm right and they're wrong. I cannot be convinced otherwise. I'm going to leave there still sick, still diseased, still addicted, still without hope, and gonna run right to another drink or another drug because they weren't able to cure me or fix me when I was in treatment. So that is a very big problem that is faced on a daily basis in treatment centers throughout America and Native America. This is a Native American program that I work for. We only treat Native American individuals from the, I believe, 574, I believe, federally recognized tribes in America. There's many more tribes than that, but only that many are federally recognized. It says at this time, oh wait, let me get another slide here. Others seem to be able to break through this denial with constant support from their group. This means that you have to go to a meeting, you have to go to a counseling session, you have to read a big book, you have to read a Bible, you have to go to the longhouse, you have to smudge, you have to pray, you have to seek guidance from a power greater than yourself. Don't take my word for it. Go back out there and do some more research. Individuals in AA or Alcoholics Anonymous will tell you, go back out there and do some research because you are going to find the same results. The Alcoholics Anonymous group has a quote that says, "One drink is too many and 1,000 is not enough." Now, there's your research there. I've been sober 30, let's see, 33, almost 34 years. I will not take a drink. I will not smoke a cigarette. I will not drink caffeine. I don't use drugs. I will take prescribed medication if it's given to me by a doctor, which I do now, which is omeprazole for acid reflux and lisinopril for high blood pressure. So those are two disclosures there I should not have made, I guess, but I just want to keep it real with you guys. I do take medication on a daily basis, and I have for several years now. Now, I will not use a drug that's going to get me intoxicated unless I have a severe injury to myself of some sort. That's just how I live. All right, so let me stop there. I don't have enough time to go any further. This is my first session, which is on denial. Delusion will be my next session coming up, and then defensiveness. So I'd like to stop there. Thank everyone who has attended or has viewed this video. And be aware or stay tuned. I'm going to be coming back with delusion and then defensiveness, probably within the week, I guess. I'll make sure that I make this happen. All right, so let me go ahead and stop this and go from there. I will end this right now by saying Atawi Shamash, meaning I love you in our Sahapan language, and I will see you on the other side. Keep the faith, stay strong, and stay native.